Have you ever wondered why, as we age, it feels like people start drifting away? Sometimes it's hard to pinpoint, but there are hidden reasons why people may begin to pull away or even resent us without us even realizing it. Aging isn't just about our physical changes. It can shift the dynamics of relationships in ways we might not expect or understand. It's a tough pill to swallow, but it's true. Aging can subtly alter the way people interact with us. Once close relationships can seem to fray, and we might start feeling the distance, even though we haven't changed that much. Today we're going to uncover 5 surprising reasons why people might secretly start hating you as you age. These aren't just random acts of malice. They're linked to deeper shifts in habits, attitudes, and expectations. Through the stories of older individuals who've lived these experiences, we'll explore the reasons behind this distancing and, importantly, how to navigate these challenges to maintain healthy, strong relationships as we age. So, stick around as we dive into these often overlooked aspects of aging and connection. Let's dive in. Reason number 1. You become set in your ways. Meet Mr. Harold, an 80-year-old man who prided himself on his daily routines. Every morning, without fail, he made his tea the same way. 2 spoonfuls of sugar, a splash of milk, no more, no less. His furniture was arranged exactly how he liked it, each chair and table placed in its perfect spot. For years, his children admired his sense of order. But as Harold got older, something changed. His children started to notice that he wasn't as flexible as he once was. When they suggested a new way of doing things, like rearranging the living room to create more space, or trying a new method for brewing tea, Harold resisted. He became downright stubborn. What had once seemed charming, his meticulous attention to detail, now felt like an unwillingness to adapt. It's natural for us to fall into a routine as we age. Our habits and routines bring us comfort, and we cling to them because they feel stable and familiar. However, as we get older, this attachment to routine can start to alienate the people around us, especially younger family members who might see our reluctance to change as inflexibility or even selfishness. For Harold's children, it wasn't just about moving the furniture around. It became a symbol of something deeper. They started feeling like their father wasn't willing to accept their input or even consider different perspectives. What began as minor disagreements eventually turned into a rift in their relationship. When we resist change, we unintentionally send a message that we don't trust others' judgment or that we're unwilling to listen. The world around us is constantly changing, and if we're too rigid, it can create misunderstandings or resentment from those who care about us. Harold's children weren't trying to control him, they just wanted him to be open to opportunities for improvement, comfort, and connection. But here's the important lesson. It's not about abandoning all routines. Routines can provide stability and comfort, especially as we age. The key is remaining open to adjustments when necessary. Change doesn't mean losing our identity or sense of stability. It can be a chance to grow closer to the people we love by showing that we're willing to listen and compromise. So, whether it's trying a new way of brewing tea or being open to changes suggested by loved ones, it's crucial to stay adaptable. Age doesn't have to make us rigid. By embracing change and staying open to new perspectives, we can continue to enrich our relationships and enjoy a fulfilling life no matter how old we get. Reason number 2. You start offering overbearing advice. Meet Sophia, a 75-year-old woman who had always been the wise matriarch of her family. Her children, grandchildren, and even neighbors often sought her counsel on everything from relationships to financial decisions. But lately, something had changed. Sophia, perhaps feeling the weight of her many years of experience, began offering unsolicited advice more and more. Whether it was telling her daughter how to raise her grandchildren, or lecturing her son about his career choices, Sophia seemed to have an opinion on everything. What once was a cherished and welcomed resource of wisdom now felt overwhelming to her family. Her children, who had once turned to her for guidance, started avoiding her, feeling like every conversation had turned into a lecture. They didn't just feel advised, they felt criticized, like their every choice was wrong. The desire to share our life lessons is completely natural as we age. After all, we've lived through a lot, and we want to pass on the knowledge we've gained. However, there's a fine line between offering helpful guidance and being overbearing. What might be intended as useful advice can easily come across as condescending or judgmental, especially when it's not asked for. When we offer unsolicited advice, it can unintentionally feel like we're undermining the decisions of others, even when we don't mean to. In Sophia's case, her children didn't want to feel like they were being parented again. They wanted to feel trusted to make their own choices. They began to see her advice not as helpful but as constant criticism of their lives. The key here is recognizing the balance between sharing wisdom and respecting others' autonomy. As adults, her children were no longer looking to her for every answer. While they still valued her opinions, they wanted those opinions to feel supportive, not controlling. Over time, Sophia's once warm relationship with her children became strained. They didn't resent her wisdom, but they did resent the feeling that every conversation was a reminder of how they were failing in her eyes. Offering advice, especially in later years, needs to be done thoughtfully. It's important to consider whether the advice is requested or simply being given because we feel the need to guide, whether or not it's wanted. Often, listening becomes just as important as speaking. Sometimes, offering our wisdom through listening can be even more valuable. This allows others to come to us for guidance when they're ready, and fosters mutual respect and understanding. Sophia's children would have likely welcomed her insights if they felt more like a conversation and less like a directive. As we age, we need to be mindful of when to step back and let others make their own decisions. Offering advice can be a beautiful way to connect, but only if it's given with care, timing, and respect for the other person's boundaries. By listening as much as we speak, we can ensure our wisdom is appreciated rather than overwhelming, and maintain strong, meaningful relationships as we grow older. Reason number 3, you become too dependent. Meet George, a spry 70-year-old who had always prided himself on his independence. He was the kind of person who could fix anything around the house, manage his own finances, and take care of himself without needing assistance. But after a fall that left him with a fractured ankle, things began to change. At first, George needed a little help from his daughter Anne to get around and manage daily tasks. However, as time went on, his need for assistance grew. He began asking Anne to help with cooking, cleaning, and even managing his medical appointments. What started as a temporary necessity soon turned into a constant expectation. Anne, who had always been close to her father, found herself becoming his primary caregiver. As the months passed, she began to feel overwhelmed and eventually resentful. She longed for the independent father she once had, but instead she found herself burdened with the role of caregiver, feeling like her own life was on hold. As we age, it's natural for our physical and sometimes mental health to decline, making it harder to do things for ourselves. There's no shame in needing help, and accepting it is part of the aging process. However, when that help becomes excessive or one-sided, it can put a serious strain on relationships. For Anne, her father's growing dependency started to feel more like an obligation than an act of care. What once was a relationship built on mutual love and respect shifted into a situation where she felt like the caretaker and he the dependent. This kind of dynamic change is more common than we think. Many older individuals find themselves needing help, and at first it may seem like a small ask. But over time, as needs increase, the burden can shift entirely onto those who care for us, leading to feelings of resentment. Anne didn't resent her father, but she resented the loss of the independent relationship they once shared. She felt guilty for feeling overwhelmed, but the constant responsibility left her little time for her own life, family, or even self-care. This highlights the importance of maintaining a balance between accepting help and preserving as much independence as possible. The lesson here is that dependency doesn't have to mean losing your sense of self. George, for example, could have explored other resources like home health aides or community programs. This would have allowed him to maintain his autonomy while still receiving the assistance he needed. By diversifying his support system, he could have avoided putting too much pressure on Anne and helped preserve their relationship. It's also crucial for caregivers, like Anne, to set boundaries and communicate openly with their loved ones if the level of dependency starts to feel overwhelming. Relationships, especially those between parents and children, should remain reciprocal, with both parties caring for one another. When one person feels burdened, it can lead to tension. As we grow older, it's vital to maintain our independence as much as possible. whether it's learning to adapt, finding new ways to stay active, or seeking external support. Proactively addressing our needs can help ensure we don't overwhelm those around us. For George and Anne, a better balance between accepting help and maintaining independence could have allowed them to continue enjoying their relationship without the strain of one-sided caregiving. By preserving independence while also embracing help when necessary, we can keep our relationship strong, healthy, and fulfilling as we age. Reason number 4, you stop caring about appearance. Meet Martha, a vibrant 78-year-old woman who was once known for her impeccable sense of style. Whether it was a scarf that perfectly complemented her outfit, a fresh coat of lipstick, or her well-kept hair, Martha always made sure she looked polished and put together. She was admired by her friends and community for her sharp sense of fashion and how she carried herself with confidence, well into her later years. But in recent months, something had shifted. Martha, perhaps feeling the physical wear of aging and prioritizing comfort over appearance, began to let her grooming slip. She started wearing the same worn-out cardigan and slacks every day. Her once meticulously styled hair was now left unkempt. At a recent reunion with old friends, she noticed whispers behind her back. Her friends, who once admired her for her style, were now gossiping about how she had let herself go. It was a hard pill to swallow, but Martha realized that some people were judging her as she aged. As we grow older, it's natural for our priorities to shift, and physical appearance often takes a back seat to other concerns like health, family, or simply the desire for comfort. We may no longer have the energy or interest to keep up with trends, and that's perfectly okay. However, the way others perceive us doesn't always align with our personal choices. For Martha, neglecting her appearance felt like a personal choice rooted in comfort and confidence, but for others, it may have seemed like a sign of giving up or not caring about oneself anymore. Her friends weren't malicious, but rather surprised by the stark contrast between the Martha they once knew, who always looked pristine, and the person standing before them. This judgment is something many older people face, whether we like it or not. We may stop caring about societal expectations of beauty, but others may interpret that as neglect or a lack of self-worth. In Martha's case, her appearance had been an integral part of her identity. As it changed, some of her friends couldn't help but judge her differently. While she may have felt more comfortable in her and had made a conscious decision to prioritize other things, her change in appearance seemed like a departure from the vibrant woman she had once been. This perception reflected a broader societal tendency to judge older adults based on their physical appearance. The lesson: self-care and maintaining a sense of identity are important, especially as we grow older. While it's natural to care less about appearance over time, taking the time for basic grooming and maintaining a sense of pride in ourselves can make a difference. It's not about trying to look young or keeping up with fashion trends. It's about maintaining dignity and self-respect. Even as we grow older and let go of societal pressures around beauty, it's important to care for ourselves in ways that make us feel good. Martha's experience shows that outward appearances still matter to some people, and while we shouldn't live for others' approval, it's helpful to be mindful of how our choices may affect those around us. Taking care of our appearance, whether it's through maintaining old habits or adapting new ones, can help us preserve our self-esteem and keep connections with people who value that part of our identity. In doing so, we remind ourselves that we still have value, regardless of our age. So while it's natural to care less about our appearance as we age, it's crucial to strike a balance between personal comfort and self-care. Doing so helps us preserve our identity, dignity, and the relationships we hold dear. After all, how we present ourselves to the world does have an impact on how we are perceived, even as we grow older. Reason number 5. You start to be negative about the future. Meet Edwin, an 82-year-old man who was once the embodiment of optimism. Throughout his life, Edwin was known for always finding the silver lining, no matter the challenge. He could face difficult times with a hopeful attitude and a sense of possibility, always looking for what could go right, no matter how tough things seemed. However, as the years went by, Edwin began to change. His once positive outlook faded, and he became consumed by concerns about his declining health, his finances, and the uncertain future that awaited him. Conversations that once revolved around fun memories or future plans now centered on what could go wrong. He worried about medical bills, losing his independence, and what would happen when he could no longer care for himself. Edwin's family, who had always admired his upbeat nature, started to notice the shift in his attitude. They were no longer eager to visit him. His constant negativity started to feel draining, and they began avoiding discussions with him, unsure of how to respond to his worries. What had once been a joyful relationship now felt strained, as Edwin's fear of the future overshadowed the connection they shared. As we age, it's natural to have concerns about the future. Health issues, financial strain, and the reality of mortality can all weigh heavily on our minds. However, when we become consumed by these worries, it can create an environment of negativity that affects our relationships. Edwin's family still wanted to spend time with him, but his focus on worst-case scenarios left them feeling helpless and uncomfortable. They didn't know how to offer comfort or support when every conversation turned into more worries. This shift in Edwin's attitude is something many older people experience as they confront the realities of aging. While it's important to acknowledge the challenges of getting older, it's equally crucial to maintain a hopeful outlook. Constantly focusing on the negatives, whether it's health issues, fears about death, or regrets about the past, can make others feel overwhelmed and unsure of how to respond. Over time, they may begin to distance themselves, not because they don't care, but because they are overwhelmed by the persistent negativity. The lesson: maintaining a positive outlook, even in the face of aging's challenges, is essential for keeping our relationships strong and vibrant. Focusing too much on the negative aspects of aging can cast a shadow over our interactions. But when we find ways to stay hopeful, celebrate the present, and look forward to the future with optimism, we not only improve our own quality of life, but also invite others to remain connected to us. Hope is a powerful force. It can uplift both ourselves and those around us. Edwin's family wasn't rejecting him because they didn't care. They simply didn't know how to cope with his constant pessimism. They wanted to be there for him, but it became difficult to offer support when every conversation felt like a reminder of all the worst things that could happen. The key to maintaining healthy relationships as we age is finding a balance. It's important to acknowledge hardships, but also to recognize moments of joy, progress, and possibility. This balance will help prevent alienating those who want to be part of your life but are overwhelmed by constant doom and gloom. The way we approach aging can significantly impact our relationships. Whether it's becoming set in our ways, offering overbearing advice, becoming too dependent, letting go of our appearance, or focusing too much on the negative, these changes can unknowingly create distance between us and our loved ones. But the good news is that by staying adaptable, listening more, finding a balance between independence and help, maintaining self-care, and embracing a hopeful outlook, we can strengthen our connections and enjoy our later years to the fullest. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, leave a comment below to let me know if you can relate to any of these points by commenting 9 or Z. Until next time, take care and stay positive.